If you're paying Nintendo $50 a year to play N64 games you already own, or you're paying Sony $160 annually to stream PS3 titles, you're not buying games. You're renting your childhood on a subscription that disappears the moment you stop paying. Here are the facts, folks. Nintendo Switch Online locks N64, SNES, and NES games behind a yearly fee. If you stop paying that, then you lose access. PlayStation Plus Premium costs $160 a year to stream PS3 games. If you cut your subscription, your library, that vanishes. With the Xbox, if you bought Halo 3 in 2007, you still own it in 2026. You put the disc in your Series X and it works. No subscription required. Game ownership is the most debated issue in modern gaming, and it's simple. Physical media is disappearing and digital storefronts are replacing ownership with licenses. When you buy a game digitally on Nintendo or Sony platforms, you're buying access, not the game itself. Nintendo subscription only goes back to the N64. If you want to play GameCube or Wii games, consoles that literally define the generation, well, you can't. At least not through subscription or through backwards compatibility. Your only option is to hunt down a remaster, and then you have to pay full price all over again. Sony follows the same playbook. The PS5's backwards compatibility works with 99% of PS4 games, which is, say, that's excellent, right? But it ends there. If you want PS3, PS2, or PS1 games, you need PlayStation Plus Premium at $160 a year. Stop paying and, well, your childhood vault gets locked. Here's the comparison, folks. Nintendo charges $20 to $50 annually for access to a rotating selection of retro games. Sony charges, like I said, $160 annually for the premium tier just to stream PS3 titles. And here's the catch. Neither of them lets you own these games outright. You can't buy Metal Gear Solid and keep it. You can't purchase Twisted Metal as a standalone title. At this point, you are not a collector. You're a subscriber paying rent for nostalgia. I mean, try lending your Nintendo Switch Online login to a friend so they can play Star Fox 64, or even try selling your access to a PS Plus game after the month ends. Well, you can't do that. With Sony and Nintendo, you don't own memories. You just rent them. This model works because both companies are targeting an older audience. Most of us who played these games are now in our 30s and 40s with disposable income. At least that's what many of us are in right now. Anyway, that makes it easier to charge us multiple times for games that may still be sitting on our shelves collecting dust. Which brings me to the gold standard, Microsoft. If you own a physical copy of an Xbox, Xbox 360, or Xbox One game, you can play it on the Xbox Series X. If you bought a digital game 15 years ago and it's tied to your Microsoft account, well, congratulations! It works on your Xbox Series S today. This means that you own the games you bought over 20 years ago. Microsoft also provides free performance enhancements to older titles at no additional cost. Can you believe that? Higher frame rates, faster load times, auto HDR, the works. If you have an original Xbox disc, that disc is yours. You can sell it, lend it, display it on a shelf. It's up to you. That is as close to retro gaming ownership as modern consoles get. Microsoft made a business decision to respect your original purchases. Sony and Nintendo, well, they made a very different choice. The biggest problem modern gaming faces is that consumers, that's you and me, are treated as revenue streams instead of customers. This is the opposite of retro gaming, where the experience and ownership came first. Physical media gave you the control. You could resell games, you can share them, you can keep them forever. Digital storefronts were sold as convenience, but convenience came at the cost of ownership. You can't resell a digital license. You can't lend a subscription. You can't pass down your Steam library in a will. Both Nintendo and Sony built their brands on creating memories, so that would be Super Mario 64, Final Fantasy VII, The Legend of Zelda. These games defined our childhoods. Now, those same companies are charging you annually to access those memories instead of letting you own them. Now you're asking, what's the catch? Well, if you never own these games physically and you're fine paying for temporary access through subscriptions, This model might work for you. If you only play new releases and you don't really care about the retro libraries, backwards compatibility isn't even a priority. But if you already bought these games once, twice, even 3 times across different consoles, and you expect to own what you paid for, I'm sorry, but Sony and Nintendo subscription model is objectively worse than what Microsoft can offer. But of course, you can love Nintendo and PlayStation games while also rejecting their ownership model, because I love Nintendo and PlayStation games too, but the backwards compatibility is a choice. Permanent purchases are a choice. Microsoft made those choices. Sony and Nintendo, on the other hand, they decided subscriptions were far more profitable than respecting your original investment. Stop renting your childhood, folks. You should demand ownership. But at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your wallet, it's your choice. But if you want gaming advice that puts your wallet ahead of corporate strategy, that's what this channel does. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you in the next one. Toodaloos!